What if I told you that a huge chunk of your genetic code, the very blueprint of who you are, isn't actually human? That deep inside your cells you're carrying the ghosts of ancient viruses. This isn't science fiction, it's a biological fact. About 8% of your DNA is made of viral leftovers from infections that plagued our primate ancestors millions of years ago. And these aren't just dead relics or junk DNA. These ancient invaders have become a permanent part of our family tree, and as we're now finding out, they are still actively shaping our health, our evolution, and what it even means to be human. So, how on earth is this possible? How does a virus become a permanent part of our species' DNA? To get it, we need to talk about a special kind of virus, the retrovirus. You've probably heard of a famous modern one, HIV. Retroviruses are masters of infiltration. Unlike other viruses that just hang out and replicate in a cell's main workspace, retroviruses perform a kind of genetic surgery. They carry a special enzyme that lets them do something wild. They rewrite their own RNA code into DNA and then stitch it right into the host cell's genome. Think of it like a rogue programmer slipping a malicious line of code into a massive piece of software. The cell, not knowing any better, treats this new viral code as its own and copies it every single time it divides. Now, usually this sort of thing is a personal problem. But millions of years ago, something incredibly rare happened. A retrovirus didn't just infect any old cell in one of our primate ancestors. It hit the jackpot. It infected a germline cell, an egg or a sperm cell. This is the absolute key, because germline cells are the ones passing genetic information to the next generation. That little piece of viral DNA was no longer just one primate's problem. It became an inheritance. The offspring was born with that viral code in every single cell of its body. And as that individual reproduced, the viral DNA was passed down again and again for millions of years, eventually spreading through the whole population until it became a permanent scar in the genome of the species that would one day become us. Scientists call these genetic scars human endogenous retroviruses, or HERVs. You can think of these HERVs as genetic fossils. Just like paleontologists dig up bones to piece together the history of life, geneticists can study these viral signatures to uncover the story of our own evolution. We know of about 30 different families of HERVs in our genome, which adds up to more than 60,000 individual viral bits. Each one is a snapshot of an ancient pandemic our ancestors somehow survived. And this is where it gets really mind-bending. We don't just share these viral fossils with other humans, we share many of them with other primates. For instance, you can find a specific HERV, let's call it HERV X, stuck in the exact same spot in your DNA and in the DNA of a chimpanzee. The odds of the same virus infecting two separate lineages and inserting its code into the exact same place are just astronomically small. It would be like two authors independently writing a 1,000-page book and making the exact same typo on the same page in the same sentence on the same word. The only logical conclusion is that they didn't write it independently. They both copied it from a common source. In this case, that source was our shared ancestor. The infection happened before humans and chimpanzees went their separate evolutionary ways. This shared viral DNA is one of the most powerful pieces of evidence we have for common descent, a permanent record of our deep history written into our very code. For decades, scientists figured these tens of thousands of viral sequences were just useless baggage, broken, non-functional code we were stuck with forever. They were a major part of what was famously, and as it turns out incorrectly labeled, junk DNA. But evolution is the ultimate recycler. It doesn't like to waste anything, and over millions of years our bodies have repurposed many of these ancient viral invaders for some surprisingly important jobs. What was once a parasite has been tamed, co-opted, and woven into the very fabric of our biology. Recent research is turning the whole junk DNA idea on its head, revealing that these viral sequences can act like sophisticated genetic switches. Some HERV elements work as enhancers or promoters, basically landing pads for proteins that turn our own genes on and off. Their activity is especially vital during the earliest stages of embryonic development, helping to direct the incredibly complex dance of gene expression that builds a human from a single cell. So, far from being junk, some of our most ancient enemies are now essential regulators of our most human genes. The story gets even weirder. Some of this viral DNA doesn't just regulate our genes, it has become genes, producing proteins that are critical for our survival. Maybe the most stunning example is a protein called syncytin. Syncytin is absolutely essential for human pregnancy. It's what's known as a fusogenic protein, which is a fancy way of saying it causes cells to fuse together. Specifically, it helps form a critical layer of the placenta, the barrier and bridge between the mother and fetus that handles nutrient exchange and protects the baby from the mother's immune system. Without syncytin, mammalian pregnancy as we know it would be impossible. And where did this profoundly important human gene come from? It's the envelope gene from an ancient retrovirus, the very same protein a virus once used to fuse with and infect a host cell, has been captured and repurposed by our bodies to build the placenta. We actually have multiple syncytin genes from different viral infections, showing that evolution thought this was such a good trick, it did it more than once. But that's not all. Some HERV-derived proteins also act as our bodyguards. Researchers have found that certain ancient viral proteins can block the receptors on our cells that modern viruses use to get in. For instance, a protein called suppressin, which also comes from an ancient HERV, is highly active in the placenta and helps protect the embryo by blocking a whole class of modern retroviruses. In a very real way, the ghosts of viruses past are protecting us from the viruses of today. So are these all just harmless, repurposed fossils? Or can they still stir up trouble? The answer is complicated. The vast majority of HERVs are broken. Millions of years of mutations have piled up, deleting key parts of their code and making it impossible for them to create a full infectious virus. You cannot catch a HERV from someone. However, some of the more recent arrivals, like those from the HERV-K family, are surprisingly intact. Some of them can still produce viral proteins, and in certain situations, scientists have even seen them assemble into virus-like particles. Researchers are now digging into the links between the strange reawakening of these HERVs and modern diseases. Studies have connected their expression to some autoimmune diseases, neurological conditions like MS, and several types of cancer. The theory is that under stress, or as our body's defenses weaken with age, these sleeping giants can wake up, and their proteins can mess with our normal cell functions, contributing to disease. For example, a study from July 2024 showed that a specific HERV family is highly active in colorectal cancer and may help tumors survive and resist treatment. This is a fascinating and fast-moving field of research, suggesting our internal viral landscape isn't static but a dynamic force that can influence our health our entire lives. This journey into our DNA reveals a story that's more complex and interconnected than we ever imagined. The line between us and them, between human and virus, is wonderfully blurry, If exploring our deep past gets your curiosity going, make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for more secrets of our biology. And I'd love to hear what you think about all this in the comments below. That 8% of your DNA isn't a flaw, it's a library. It's a fossil record of ancient plagues, a toolkit of repurposed parts, and an active player in our ongoing evolution. From the very structure of the placenta that allows for birth, to the regulation of our genes, and our defense against new infections, we are profoundly shaped by these viral ghosts in our machine. We are, in a very real sense, part virus. And as we continue to decode the human genome, the biggest question remains: what other incredible secrets are still hidden in our DNA, just waiting to be found?